Panama's government and social movement established a dialogue table to end protests demanding the government to stop high costs of fuels and food. In Haiti, the number of people killed in the capital Port-au-Prince as a result of recent armed gang clashes is now over 15. A Russian gas pipeline to Germany Nord Stream 1 will be shut down from Monday for maintenance, and the move could turn into a nightmare for Europe. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Panama, protests by various sectors continue against the high cost of living and fuel price increases, while a dialogue with the government is announced. Union organizations and several social movements joined the protest called by the educational sector, in which during Monday they concentrated in the premises of the assembly. Likewise, university students as well as the personnel of the University of Panama remain in Avenue Bolivar supporting the demands of the workers, while the Panamanian executive through a statement announced the installation of a dialogue table with the intention of finding effective solutions in the shortest possible time. In El Salvador, authorities reported a confrontation between gang members and the police that left at least 3 people dead and more than 10 alleged criminals arrested. The National Civil Police indicated the confrontation took place in a rural area of the municipality of San Antonio del Monte in the department of Sonsonate after 3 gang members belonging to the criminal group Patrulla fired shots at the officers. Authorities added that the shooters were killed and at least 10 members were captured, including leaders present at the incident. The government of Nayib Bukele is in a war against gangs, which has its main raised a regime of exception, measures that has been questioned by humanitarian organizations with more than 3,000 reports of human rights violations registered. In the Dominican Republic, the Public Prosecutor's Office revealed new evidence in the special case known as Medusa corruption. The Public Prosecutor's Office, in a file that consists of 12,275 pages and involves over 63 implicated people, including the former Attorney General Jean Alain Rodriguez as the ringleader. The Third Court of Instruction of the National District is in charge of handling the case with the task of deciding whether to send the implicated parties to trial or to issue an order of dismissal. The prosecutor for administrative corruption, Wilson Camacho, explained that the document contains over 3,500 pieces of evidence and includes 400 witnesses. The prosecutor's office indicated that the fraudulent maneuvers set up and directed by the former Attorney General reached the point of moving millions of pesos for an alleged presidential project in 2020. In Haiti, the number of people killed in the capital Port-au-Prince as a result of armed gang clashes is now over 15. The clashes began last Friday, forcing thousands of residents to confine themselves to their homes without access to water, food, or basic services. This is the second gang war to occur in the northern part of the capital since the end of April, when clashes left at least 200 dead, hundreds injured, and more than 30,000 internally displaced. According to authorities, many of the fatalities belong to the warring gangs. However, there have also been several deaths among the civilian population. In Argentina, Economy Minister Silvina Batakis announces measures aimed at reducing spending, defending solvency, and saving the state. Among the measures is the extension of the freezing of personnel in all the National Public Administration Agency, which will also receive monthly budget payments. She also indicated that by means of a modification of the financial administration law, a single account regime will be implemented throughout the National Public Administration, similar to the one applied in most of the provinces, which will allow saving the state $600 billion a year.
It is true that the agreement was signed in the previous situation of global inflation. You will have seen the data, but there are countries that tripled their inflation compared to the inflation of the previous year. Some of them quadrupled it, and of course that generates extra inflation in Argentina, and that is basically a methodological issue. It is not a shift in the target, it is a methodological issue that we are already analyzing with the International Monetary Fund.
In the same context, Argentina's economy minister said the country will honor fiscal deficit goals and other commitments made under a deal struck with the IMF to refinance its debt.
We are in a totally different situation from a situation where one could make inflationary projections. What I do have to tell you is that we are working in all areas of government to be able to provide each of the entrepreneurs with the planning we mentioned before, so that they can continue to produce.
The Venezuelan Attorney General's office revealed that the ex-wife of Venezuelan leader Carlos Lanz is responsible for masterminding his murder. During a press conference at the Public Ministry's headquarters, Attorney General Tarek William Saab assured that his ex-wife, Maxiori Sol Kumare, kept for 2 years a theory that Carlos Lanz had been kidnapped by foreign forces and had been handed over to the Colombian paramilitaries. However, after an interrogation recorded in an audiovisual document, the ex-wife of Carlos Lanz revealed that she was indeed linked to the fact. So far, the number of people arrested and charged for the kidnapping and subsequent murder of Professor Carlos Lanz has risen to 15.
A moment when the prosecutor's office, in an efficient manner, reactivates a set of actions that refine a set of hypotheses, and then a very investigation is outlined, and they begin to interrogate us, in a way that had not been done until that moment, which leads to actions such as a telephone line. Such interrogation, as I said before, that start to frighten us because we know that we are going to be discovered. Indeed, that is how it was, and the public ministry apprehends me, apprehends Glenn Castellano, and he reveals everything that was done. Therefore, I assume the responsibility for what I did. Glenn Castellano will say how he did it. I want to say that the prosecutor's office has guaranteed my human rights. Even though I'm arrested, it guarantees my human rights, mine, and those of my family.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. The Russian gas pipeline to Germany, Nord Stream 1, will be shut down from Monday for maintenance, and the move could turn into a nightmare for Europe. The closure of the main supply route to European nations is scheduled to last until July 21st for a planned annual repair of the pipeline facilities. Although the measure is temporary, alarms have been raised among European countries about the possibility that the supply will not be restored due to the war in Ukraine, which would cause a shortage of gas on the continent and a drastic increase in gas stock market prices. Russia and the West are still unable to overcome the tensions aggravated by the Russian operation, so Western countries impose a series of sanctions on Russian officials, companies, economic sectors, and gas. Ylva Johansson, the EU's Home Affairs Commissioner, says the food shortage as well as soaring energy prices pose security risks that will drive people out of their home countries. The EU must brace for new waves of migrants forced to uproot because of the food crisis aggravated by the war in Ukraine. The bloc's border agency chief warned the situation has sent prices for certain foods and cooking oils soaring on world markets, with parts of Africa and the Middle East bearing the brunt. According to the UN, the 27-nation European Union is hosting 5.6 million Ukrainian refugees.
And that means people can find themselves in a situation where they don't feel safe to stay in their country and then start moving. Of course, this is a huge challenge and something also that we discussed today. Nobody can predict how many that would be.
Bosnia and Herzegovina marked the 27th anniversary of the Srebrenica genocide, bidding farewell to 50 newly identified victims of the 1995 massacre at memorial service. Every year on July 11th, newly identified victims of the genocide are laid to rest at the memorial cemetery in Potokari, eastern Bosnia. Thousands of visitors from various countries attend the service. The memorial cemetery is the focal point of remembrance for friends and relatives of the victims, mostly men and boys murdered by Bosnian Serb militias. After this year's funeral, the number of burials in the cemetery rose to 6,721. According to the United Nations, the world's population is expected to reach 8 billion people on November 15th. In the same report, it says India would overtake China as the world's most populous country by 2023. The projection by the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs says the world's population is growing at its slowest pace since 1950, while seeing a net drop in birth rates in developing countries. Experts predict that over half of the projected growth in world population in the coming decades will be concentrated in 8 countries. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the population milestone is a reminder of the shared responsibility to care for our planet and a moment to reflect on where we are in depth to each other's commitments. In the United States, hundreds of firefighters scrambled Monday to prevent a wildfire engulfing an area of rare giant sequoia trees in California's Yosemite National Park. According to a park report, the Washburn fire in the Mariposa Grove of giant sequoias was first reported on July 7 and doubled in size over the weekend to 2,340 acres. Yosemite's Fire Management Service said 545 firefighters were battling the base, including proactively protecting the grove, the largest sequoia grove in Yosemite with over 500 mature trees. A spokesperson for Yosemite Fire Information told reporters that further reinforcements were due to be deployed Monday as the blaze remained out of control with increasingly hot and dry weather forecast. On Monday, U.S. President Joe Biden said that a flood of guns is turning U.S. communities into killing fields. In a White House ceremony to mark new gun control legislation that he signed on June 25th, Biden said it is the first significant progress in 30 years, but did not go far enough to rein gun violence. Biden cited recent mass shootings that left 19 students and 2 teachers dead at a primary school in Uvalde, Texas, 10 dead at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York, and 7 killed at a Highland Park, Illinois, July 4th parade. In addition, Biden said every day there are tragic killings that don't make the headlines. Biden pledged to restore a ban on assault rifles that existed from 1994 to 2004.
We face literally a moral choice in this country, moral choice with profound real-world implications. Will we take wise steps to fulfill the responsibility to protect the innocent and while keeping faith with the constitutional rights? Will we match thoughts and prayers with action? I say yes, and that's what we're doing here today.
Hunter Biden, the son of the United States President Joe Biden, is once again involved in a scandal that has gone viral on social media. An 18-second video showing the president's son allegedly buying and weighing illicit substances has been quickly disseminated by users on social media. Dealing with illicit drug spoils, the Biden administration again has Hunter Biden has been accused of crimes such as tax fraud, money laundering, and even allegedly lobbying in Washington for a foreign firm in an illicit manner. One of Hunter Biden's most reported crimes is that of being involved with creating a financial opportunity to perform work in biolabs in Ukraine, which is still under investigation by Russian authorities, who say they have found evidence linking him. The scandal comes in a moment when his father, Joe Biden, as President of the United States, is currently struggling with declining approval ratings. More news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. In Sri Lanka, authorities announced Monday the election day for the country's new president, as President Gotabaya is set to resign on Wednesday. The head of parliament, Mahinda Japa Abeyewardena, said leaders of the country's political parties decided to set July 20th for the election of the country's new president. Under normal conditions, the president of Sri Lanka is elected for 5 years through general elections, but for the transfer of the presidential office in a special situation, including the resignation of the president before the end of his term, the country's constitution provides for another mechanism. The new president is elected for the remaining period of the term through a vote of parliamentarians. On Monday, family and friends of Japan's assassinated former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe paid their respects at a wake in Tokyo. Japan's ruling coalition meanwhile declared victory in a somber election held Sunday, just 2 days after Abe was gunned down on the campaign trial. Abe's body was moved from his family home to the Sojoji Temple on Monday afternoon, where his wake is being held ahead of tomorrow's private funeral. Public memorials for him are expected at a later date, with no immediate plans set for the events. Chinese State Foreign Affairs Wang Yi discussed cooperation with Indonesian President Joko Widodo in Jakarta and paid a visit to the Asian Secretariat. Wang and Widodo started off their meeting by talking about the Ukraine crisis. This was also mentioned during Wang's speech at the Asian Secretariat in Jakarta. He said the world should not be pressured to take sides and instead work together to find a solution to resolve the conflict. They went on to discuss China and Indonesia relations, especially in terms of trade, with both saying they would like to see more Indonesian products enter the Chinese market in the coming years. One believes a closer relationship with Indonesia will not only help both countries grow stronger, but also maintain stability in the Asian region. An explosion in northern Togo killed 7 people, the military said on Wednesday, without giving further details about the blast. The explosion happened in Tion Prefecture, near the border with Burkina Faso, where a Sahel insurgency is threatening to spill over into coastal West African nations. Togo last month declared a state of emergency in its northern prefectures over the threat of Islamist militant attacks from north of its border. It did not give more details and did not describe it as an attack. Togo's troops are deployed in the north of the country to try and contain a rebel threat pushing south from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, where militants linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group operate.
Togolese soldiers were also killed in May in an attack in northern Togo near the border.
In Afghanistan, a cholera outbreak with over 120 cases reported in 2 days in the south of the country. According to a local government deputy spokesman, the largest outbreak was recorded in Baghran district, located in Helmand province in the south of the country. He also said that medical teams were sent from other areas to attend the situation. He also reported that of the 120 children who contracted cholera in the last 2 days, at least 15 have lost their lives. The World Health Organization describes cholera as an extremely virulent disease caused by the ingestion of food or water contaminated by the Vibrio cholerae bacillus. 19 people died in South Africa after armed assailants randomly shot at patrons in 2 bars in separate incidents. Local police in Soweto reported that 15 people, among them 2 women, were killed as they enjoyed a night out when assailants pulled up in a minibus taxi and began randomly fire high-caliber guns at drinkers. In the eastern city of Pietermaritzburg, 4 people were killed and 8 wounded in a bar when 2 men fired indiscriminately at customers. Shootings are common in South Africa, a country with one of the world's highest murder rates, fueled by gang violence and alcohol. South African Minister of Police Bheki Cele visited the Soweto tavern where the 15 people were killed and promised a crackdown on the 2 many illegal firearms circulating in the township.
Even yesterday I heard that. I'm hearing again that people are playing with guns. There's too many guns here. There's people who arrive carrying AK-47 guns, killing so many people. It simply means there's too many legal firearms. Therefore, we are going to have to clamp down, lock down the area for about 24 hours. At some point, do a door-to-door, matters-to-matters searching for these weapons.
TeleSUR English continues to grow. Its signal now reaches Europe. You can order from your cable dealer or tune it yourself. These parameters that you see on screen are in place since July 1st. Quite soon, further changes will be implemented for the signals in the Middle East and Africa. Now more than ever, the world connects to us and our stories are heard in other faraway nations. This news multi-platform will continue providing truthful content to oppose the hegemonic media's narrative and unfaithfulness to our audience. We have come to the end of this newspaper. From you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.